Hey everyone, Jake Fair here with warpfx, coming back with another tutorial. This is going to be a little bit more in-depth than our traditional tutorials that we've released so far. We've received a little bit of feedback saying that people want to see more, just in terms of what you can do and how you do it. So I'm not even going to be really doing any cuts or edits to this screen recording here. This is going to be raw, full through take. So hold up, I need to go back. I forgot to explain something important. Basically, I just want to show you how I personally set up my projects when I'm working. So just name it whatever, tutorial, choose the location where you want the scratch disk to go. Basically have your project folder, like music video title here, and then have a folder for assets, one for audio, one for project. This will be where all the scratch goes, and then your video. So you're going to want to choose the project one, and then that'll set up all your scratch disks. Cool beans. Then you're going to want to take file, new sequence, music, video, whatever you need to name it. I personally work in a 1080p sequence, typically at 24 frames, match whatever frame rate you shot. I pray you're shooting at 24, unless you have a reason not to. I delete all my tracks just so that there's one and one, keep it easy. If I go to import here, go to video, have these clips, import them. These are all 4K clips. The sequence is 1080p. This is how I achieve unique video effects. So basically drag this in. Nope, I want to keep my existing settings. So you'll see here this is really zoomed in. Back to 50. Now when I'm working on this, I have the range to add keyframes and move motion around, typically within 50 to 100, because that's where you're not going to be losing quality. Once you go beyond 100, you will be seeing some compression, because obviously that's beyond the original image's boundaries. This is how I prefer to personally edit my videos, because it gives me more dynamic range when keyframing. And you can choose to edit in a 4K sequence. If you have the footage that is beyond 4K, 6K, 8K, perfect. You can do this exact same thing in that sequence. But if you're shooting in 4K, my personal opinion is a 1080p sequence is always going to be more than sufficient, because 99% of your viewers are on mobile devices. They're not watching it on televisions, home theaters, or anything of a large variety. All of the pixels are being presented to them at 1080p quality. Their systems that they're viewing it on aren't capable of processing the 4K quality, and it's delivered to them in 1080p. So if you're creating 4K videos, you might be wasting your time, in my opinion. If there's a reason for it, there's a reason for it, but for your general day-to-day work, 1080p is more than enough. You make a 1080p sequence, scale it back to 50, and then work with this clip here at 50. Lots more dynamic range for keyframing. That's all I wanted to say in terms of setting up your project. I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. Let's go back to the tutorial. So basically what you're looking at here is I have a couple performance shots from a music video I shot recently. I can show you them here. So I've laid out a couple of these performance scenes. In between them, I have taken some stock footage from our Toronto stock footage aerial pack on the website. Took this shot here. This one's called CN Tower Day 2, and this one is intersection tilt down. So with these two clips here, if I zoom in, I actually altered the speed on this one to 1800 because it's a little bit slower of a shot if I go here. So yeah, it's a really slow shot. It's very smooth though, so I can ramp up the speed. And there's the magic. The song that we're using here is, I located it by searching Casey Neistat music on YouTube. God bless Mr. Neistat. You'll find a treasure trove of awesome vlog style songs you can use there. So obviously this is a decent little roll of footage here, so we want to boost it up as much as we can. Let's find a couple shots that are a little shakier than normal. We're going to nest them. We're going to be adding warp stabilization to these shots here. You can go to your effects panel, type in warp stabilizer, and it should come up under video effects, distort. Drag that over onto the clips that you wish to stabilize. Then go to your effects control panel, scroll down, and you'll see the smoothness percentage, 50%. Typically 50% is really high, so I like to do 25 as my good mid-range. Tends to reduce a lot of the jello effect. Some shots, if they're already really smooth, such as this one, 50% stabilization really won't add much of a jello effect to it. If anything, will just make it more smooth. But if you have any shake to your shot when you're doing it, you don't want to add too much of the stabilization effect because it'll create that jello effect. As you can see here, it's cropped in a little too far here. It's created some bars. It's managed to actually stabilize it, but if I make this a little larger, maybe you can get a better idea of the jello effect I'm describing. You can kind of see how the background, the fence, and the edge of the car here, they're kind of like jelloed. To the naked eye, most traditional viewers, this looks normal. But to me, and hopefully you, that doesn't look normal, and you're going to want to adjust that. So my recommendation is not to use any warp stabilization on shots where it's not required or it's too shaky, and then reduce the smoothness percentage on any shots where it's a little too shaky for it to be running at a higher percentage, if that makes sense. Okay, cool. We made these shots stabilized. Nice. Let's move on to our next step here. So I'm going to go in and apply some Lumetri LUT profiles to these shots here. So if you go up to the Lumetri color panel, if this isn't available in any of your windows, just click here, Window, Lumetri Color, and it'll make it appear somewhere. So you're going to want to select a clip here, go to Creative. You're going to want to go to Browse here. Then you're going to want to locate your asset folder that you've created earlier. Mine's here in my project folder. And then I can locate my LUT pack, click on LUTs, and anything with a .cube extension will be able to be imported into your Lumetri color panel here. So we're going to go with Cinematic Somber Light. Cool, awesome. So then if I go back to Effect Controls here, I can click this on and off and see the difference. Obviously this isn't perfect. There's no one LUT profile that will work perfectly with every clip because your lighting and colors are changing between scenes. But I'm going to go really quickly here and speed this up while I do some color correction to adjust this LUT profile. Pause for a second. Two quick notes while I'm doing these color adjustments. Honestly, my recommendation to everyone is to go through and play with every single setting on a variety of clips with different exposures, different colors in them, different types of lights, neon versus LED versus tungsten, and then go through, play with all of these settings and see what they do to your shot, because you really can't explain the one perfect formula for how to color correct a shot. It's really about every single shot is different, and you need to go in and give it the time and care to adjust the shot so that it reaches its full potential in terms of color. Additionally, when you're doing the curves here, my personal recommendation is to do 3 separate dots. I do one for the shadows, midtones, and highlights. I do that for all of them when I'm doing it, and then you adjust them all separately. This will give you a lot more dynamic range, and it won't be so stiff in terms of color adjustments. So if you're just to drag this blue bar up and down with one keyframe selected on it, it won't be as responsive as compared to if you can adjust everything independently, as you can see here. Alright, perfect. So I'm content with the color profile here. As you can see, I brought out a lot of the details in his face, in the car, and whatnot. It's a lot prettier to look at. Alright, cool. So we're going to take this, Control C, and then we're going to go in, and we're going to paste it on our other shots. So I don't think personally that this will be too similar because the lighting is very different. So we're going to only paste it onto this shot. You don't want to paste it on top of the nest because then it'll react differently as compared to if you go into the native clip within the nest and you apply it here. Obviously the lighting is a little different in this shot again, so we're going to make some slight adjustments very quickly. Alright, I think we're happy with that. Good to go. So now you're going to want to close these just for organization. These shots blend well together. If I click the master effects mute here, you'll see the difference in the two. Cool. So if you don't have this button, the global effects mute, if you don't have that available, you're going to want to click button editor here. And then you're going to want to locate it. Boom. And you just want to drag it. And then you hit OK. And then it'll be there. I've already gone ahead and adjusted the rest of the Lumetri LUT profiles, so to save time I'm going to just turn them on here so you can see them. Alright, now our clip is pretty much ready to go here. It's not going to play too well because I'm on full. Here we go. Cool. This is way too dark. I need to adjust this one. These type of things will happen as you're doing it if you're really doing it and giving it its proper justice. You'll consistently be going back and forth and making tiny little adjustments just to make sure that it does fit the color profile you intended it to. I believe I'm also going to apply warp stabilization to this. I'm going to keyframe some motion to help encourage the shot. Basically, I'm looking to complement or embellish my in-camera movements with keyframes. This is a style and trick that I use often when I'm shooting. I'll explain this more in depth in the future, but basically you can see exactly what's going on here. I am pulling out with the camera in this shot. If I turn off this, I'm pulling out and tilting down. So in my personal opinion, adding a keyframe to zoom in might add a nice effect. Okay. I didn't like that, so I'm actually going to reverse it and have it zoom out. I want it to be a little more. I'm going to go 75. Perfect. Alright, now I can add a warp stabilization to this and it'll smooth that out for me a little bit more. Remember, we're going to put on the warp stabilization and then we're going to adjust the stabilization percentage, because this shot is a little bit shaky, so I don't personally believe 50 will be appropriate. 25, safer medium. If you'll also notice, I'm continuously saving while I'm doing this. You're going to want to be familiar with Control S or Command S. And you're also going to want to go to your preferences here. Go to autosave. And mine personally is automatically saving every 5 minutes with a maximum project version of 60, so that I can go back and make any changes that I feel necessary. That's safe for me. You can do whatever you want, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So if you'll see here, this clip didn't work out well with the warp stabilization. I'm not too sure why. I think it's just a little too shaky on my behalf. Ooh, now that's a cool effect. See, these are the type of things that really make videos awesome, because if you're doing this with me and following along, you'll notice that I didn't do that per se. That's the shot, but for some reason when warp stabilization interpolates it, it's creating that. So what we're going to do, because I actually do like that, is I'm going to take the actual size of the shot here, increase it to 128 so that it fills the frame, and there we go. So yes, the shot appears a little bit more compressed than the rest of them when I'm playing it as such. You can see that's sharp, a little bit pixely and compressed. This is what it truly looks like. If you leave it for a moment, it'll render out. That's what it truly looks like. In comparison to this, they're very, very similar, and 99% of viewers will be on a mobile experience, so they cannot determine the difference in pixels between an image such as this to this. It really will appear the same. The only time that it will appear any difference is if you're watching it on a television, in a movie theater, or something of that nature. So anyways, like I said, didn't intend for that to happen, but that's the magic we're going to use for this. I want to keep this always organized and close any nests if you aren't using them. Next thing we're going to do here is we're going to add a couple different transitional effects from the Warp Effects packs. So if you've already imported these, as you've seen in our previous tutorial, you're going to want to scroll down and locate a pack. Let's do Feels Like 5. So you're going to want to move to the center point between these two clips. As you can see, one frame to the left is another clip, and one frame to the right is that clip. Cool. Awesome. So you're going to want to press Shift, arrow, once, and that automatically selects 5 frames here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shift arrow selects 5. You can do 10. All of our presets were designed within 5 to 10 frames, but they work perfectly on any amount of frames. I can quickly demonstrate that here. So let's do 5. Let's nest 5, and then let's copy this, and let's do the entire clip almost. To be clear, how many is that? This 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So this one will be 25. So I'm going to just turn off the track output there so that I can only see this one below. And then I can do pixel push. I think this one looks great when it's extended. Awesome. So let's even do on the other side here, just so you can get an idea. 5 frames, bringing it in. We're going to nest this. Oops. Go back. I didn't mean to do that. So yes, this is already a nest, but you're going to be nesting this again. The point of nesting the clip is to make it a bare bones clip. What a nest does is it compresses the original file, clip, or whatever you're choosing into the previous sequence, so that anything that you're doing to this nested sequence is on a raw clip per se. That's the best way I can explain it. But you're always going to want to be nesting before applying any transition presets. So anywho, you'll see here, doing 25 to 5 frames still works because the presets are set to the duration of your preset and not anchored to the end or the beginning. So they'll work perfectly on any amount. Why is the shot turn off there? What's going on? So those things happen. As you can see there, my shot had gone black for some reason. I believe maybe potentially my system is running out of memory as I'm doing this. If that's the case, you just want to toggle some effects on and off, hit save, refresh it, close the app, restart it. Honestly, whenever you encounter any glitches, your best bet is always to save, close the program, restart your computer, and start fresh again. And if it's still causing you any issues, use the project versions I described to you earlier. Use all of these project versions to go back through them and find where the error occurred. So because I do it every 5 minutes, say if right now this solution I just did, turning this effect on and off, if this didn't fix my problem and this clip was still dark, basically what I could do is I could go back into my previous file, my previous versions of the project in my file over here, and then I could go back 5 minutes at a time and diagnose when the issue had occurred, so that then I can better understand how to troubleshoot. Okay, so we're not going to use this one. This was just an example of how you can do longer forms of the transitions. Like I said, they were designed in 5 to 10 frames, so that's how they'll look their best, but you'll produce some really unique results if you apply them to different lengths. I don't want to do the combination of those two. I meant to... You can do that. You can combine different ins and outs, but my personal recommendation is to use them paired with each other because then that's just how it looks best. Cool, awesome. So what I mean by you can customize these presets is basically what I've done is I've gone in here and I've keyframed a bunch of different settings so that the effect behaves in a certain manner that makes this happen on screen. That's the best way to describe it. So basically, if you don't like what that looks like, and maybe that's too much, that's a good way to say, this is a good example of a change you might make. So let's go here. Let's take these keyframes here. Let's tone this down. This is at 6. Let's put it to 3. Intensity, put it to 0.75. Decay, 8.0. Alright, that's a toned down version. Now you're going to want to take those keyframes and put them back to the end. Let's go to Noise, HLS. Alright, we're going to take this one here and go 28. And saturation, 690. I'm making these numbers up. In my head, I'm basically just taking a little bit off of what they're already at. So if they're keyframed and I see that they're increasing, I don't want this to land at 200, I want it to land at 150, because it's a little bit less than where it was, so it should be a little less extreme. Alright, this one will have a greater effect on the actual image you're seeing. So if I take the pixel push here, let's go. Some of them you're best to probably actually use your slider and drag so that you can see exactly what's going on here. Alright, what's keyframed? So this is going down. Are they all counting down? Some are counting up. Okay. So basically what we're trying to do is we're just trying to tone down this effect so that it's not so extreme. As you can see there, the master amplitude did a great deal of damage in changing how it behaves. Alright, I personally am happy with that. I think that's a good difference. So, if you'll see now, this is a different version. This is a different version than this. This is a lot more harsh. So if you wanted to just make it simple and not have to redo all those settings again, you can simply copy them, go here, delete these ones, paste them. Please make sure that they're in the same order. Sometimes when you copy and paste, it'll rearrange the order of the effects, and the order in which they appear is very important. So make sure that the order is still the same. Obviously, you need to reverse these because these effects were for the out and not the in. So you just take all of them and switch them as you've seen here. Do it again. Cool. Awesome. Now you have the exact same effect twice. Alright, we got a little bit of an issue there. As you can see, there's a color glitch going on. It appears that it's the echo that's causing it. So we're going to go here, we're going to go 5. No. Decay is what influences the brightness, I believe. So if I set that back to 10, nope, it was the intensity. Okay. So anywho, you'll see now that that looks appropriate. You just got to go in and look at those little things and figure them out. And honestly, if I weren't to have had changed that this, it would still look the exact same. But if you want to get really smart and identify these little problems, just think deeper. So there you go, that's how you solve that. Now that's a customized effect. That's the pixel push with a little less dampening. Nice, that's gentle. Alright, so that's how you customize a preset. Now I'm just going to go in quickly here and I'm going to show you how I would then apply presets to the rest of these clips. Alright, so I'm just going to pause here. You can see you might have missed it. Another little glitch happened. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but my warp stabilizer seems to be making the frame go dead after a certain time period. So how we're going to fix that is basically I've been just turning the effect on and off, and then it prompts me to restabilize it. So that's cool, and I restabilized it. But if you'll notice here, I made a nest sequence. So if I play these, you'll see how it jumps. That's because it only warp stabilized this, and it didn't include this information. So I need to not have it nested, and it needs to be the entire sequence when you're nesting it, because then it interpolates the frames from the start to the finish, and it smooths the entire video as compared to if you were to cut it here and only do half of it. This would be raw and original, and then all of a sudden the stabilization would just begin and it would jump wherever you choose for it to start. So you want to always make sure that your full clip is stabilized. If you need to redo stabilization, make sure you delete the nests. If you want to, you can even just have copied them upwards like that, and then delete the one below it, take it, drag it, and then copy the settings after the stabilization has been applied. So see, now it's applied. I can go here and select my 5 frames. I can cut them. You know what, actually? Yeah, you can cut them. And then nest that, and now you're good to go. Doesn't jump. Alright, so we're going to be taking a look at the Ultra Pack here and some of the specific effects within it. So if you'll scroll down and look for larger frame, this is an effect. This is not a transition. So take a clip and nest it, because that's what we do when we're working with effects. Take this larger frame effect and apply it. So if we take this clip and play it, nothing happened. Awesome. You go here and you go to this and you drag it back to 50%. So you'll see here that it's created a larger frame by mirroring the image on all four sides. So what this enables you to do, I mean, obviously, if I go back all the way to 50, you're going to see duplicates of him, which maybe isn't ideal for you, but what I use this effect for is to create a longer tunnel zoom sort of effect. So if I wanted to, I can start it here, set the keyframes, set even a rotation if I wanted to, because the frame is so large now that I have that room to do that. Set those keyframes, and then we're going to move back here and we're going to return them, set this to 50, and see what that looks like. So you can see that that added some really dynamic range to the shot. It's actually really interesting. I like it a lot. I'm actually going to go and change this shot here that I used it for. How you would do that if you wanted to add that effect in after this is already pretty much made and solidified is I personally would take this, press the Alt key on your keyboard, drag up, it'll duplicate it, or additionally you could just copy, make sure that your track is selected, and then paste it from here. There we go. And then you're going to want to take this and stretch it over your nested, because these are no longer going to exist after we do this effect. Going to nest that, take larger frame, put it on. Now let's do our keyframes that we were doing earlier. Cool. Do that. Reset them. Set to 50. Good enough for me. So we're then going to take this entire thing and nest it again because it has a lot of effects on it. First, to make my job easier, I'm going to cut these, go here, because remember we made these custom, so you don't want to have to redo that again. So simply Control C and copy them, go here and Control V, boom. I haven't placed any effects here yet, so there's actually nothing to copy here, so I can just simply delete this and it's good to go. Cool beans, those effects are now put one into the other. Another type of effect that we do have is I can go here and show you on one of these. So there's no effects here yet. If I go to controls, these are just nested sequences that I had prepared to add transitions onto. So if we go to the sauce pack and we go down, and you can hover over all of them and see that you'll see their specific instructions. They're all really similar, but as you'll see here with Chaos Flash and some of the other ones, I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. Flare also. But yeah, if you take these, so let's drag out and then let's drag in. Alright, so you can see that that is an effect for sure. How it was designed to look was if you press Alt, drag up, and you duplicate both of these. That was how it was intended to look. Basically what it is that there is opacity blend modes happening on them, and if there's not two layers, there's nothing to interact with in terms of the opacity blend modes. So that's why we duplicate some of the effects. If you want to know which ones you do and don't, you simply just hover over them and you can see. The longer ones have the instructions to do that. The shorter ones just say cut, nest, drag. So that one's cool. Clips coming together quite nicely now. I want to start with an effect also. Okay, now I'm pretty much just going to go through and drag and drop a bunch of different transitions that I'm going to choose onto my pre-cuts here. So now I've dragged and dropped effects and transitions onto all of my nested sequences that occur at transitional periods. And you can see that our clip is pretty much ready to go all the way to Instagram, YouTube, or wherever we're choosing to share it. So that's been a more in-depth tutorial on how to use and apply all of our tools available on warpfx.ca. If you have any questions, concerns, ideas, really anything, please feel free to reach out to us and contact us either via direct message on Instagram or our email, which will be linked below in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.